Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Awesome Finds. This is the series where I show off my latest vinyl finds, and I have a whole stack of records to get through, so let's not waste any more time to get right into it. This first one is by the band Scenic. This was originally released in 1995, and this is the 2021 expanded edition with a bonus CD featuring demos and rough tracks. What I really like about this album is the concept of it. It was meant to be an all-instrumental soundtrack to the East Mojave Desert, and I think they absolutely nailed that sound. I mean, this to me sounds like the soundtrack to a lost Jim Jarmusch film. It's perfect music for a road trip at night. It's like ghostly surf music. The packaging for this release is also stellar. It has this really cool letterpress die-cut sleeve, which is a trademark packaging designed by Independent Project Records. It also includes a poster and a download card. This particular release is limited to 500 copies. Check it out however you can. You won't be disappointed. All right, next up I have Danko Jones. If you yearn for the days of hard-hitting rock and roll and you haven't checked out Danko Jones, I don't know what you're doing. You need to listen to him. This just happens to be his 11th studio album, Electric Sounds, and it's new for 2023. And Danko just has this magic ability to iterate on this sound that I don't feel a lot of musicians are doing these days. But he just loves classic hard rock music, and it comes through on every chord, on every drum hit, and every bass line. He loves this music, and he's incredibly consistent as an artist and as a musician. This album is full of really well-crafted songs, and I think it's some of his best work to date. So if it's been a while or you're new to Danko, check this album out. And you know what? Check out the interview I did a couple of years ago for his 9th album, A Rock Supreme.
No rest, just kicks and punching the walls. Damn, it feels so good.
I love this album. This is a beautiful, haunting jazz record, and it's hard to believe that this was originally recorded in 1961. The arrangements, the soloing, all sound incredibly modern, and this is a very accessible jazz album. It's got a beautiful blend of Asian-style music within a hard bop style. Think of that like classic jazz quartet sound, and that's what this is. But what's so remarkable about this album is that it features so many original compositions by Yusef. The Plum Blossom is my favorite song on here. It's like nothing else I've ever heard before. There are also some really interesting covers on here that are from movies. There's also a couple of really interesting covers that are from movie themes, which I also really enjoy. This whole album is incredibly well sequenced, well put together. This is out now on Original Jazz Classics by Craft Recordings. Okay, so last year, Say She She was one of my top 10 albums of 2023, and a large part of the magic of the group is this band right here, Orgone, and they are an incredible four-piece, and this is their 2024 album, Chimera. It is like stepping into a dusty hole-in-the-wall record shop that looks like it hasn't been picked through in 30 years, and in the back corner, underneath a stack of records, you find this album. You take a chance on it, and it ends up being pure magic when that needle drops. Overall, this is a beautiful soul-funk album infused with plenty of 70s jazz and some fantastic guest vocalists. And what's even cooler is that the whole album was recorded directly to analog tape. The music for me just transports me to another world. This particular pressing is on green vinyl. There are a couple of other variants out there, but however you choose to listen to this album, you need it in your life. If you love Say She She, you're gonna love this record. Okay, so those of you of a certain age will remember the original Nuggets compilation. It was a collection of garage rock staples, and there's been subsequent CD reissues over the years which expanded upon that. But one of the things Lenny Kaye always wanted to do was a volume 2, and this is what that is. This is new for 2024, and it is more or less what Lenny Kaye, who curated the first LP back in the 70s, this is pretty much what he envisioned the second double album album to be, but it never came out until now. So this is really cool that Rhino, along with Warner Music Group, were able to put this together and make it a reality. And I gotta say, this is a fantastic compilation. There are a ton of great songs in here with some well-known acts as well as some lesser-known bands, but what I really like is that many of these songs never appeared on an album because the band maybe only recorded a handful of songs. So it's great to get a lot of these singles all in one place. And the vinyl is really cool to boot. This version is the psychedelic splatter vinyl, and I like how they spelled splatter. So however you choose to check this out, I highly recommend this compilation. It's got a great vibe. If you're into 60s rock and roll, garage rock, early psychedelia, this is going to be right up your alley. So I was not expecting this album whatsoever, just showed up one day. This is the Yellow Sripes with 29, and this album really took me by surprise. It is a concept album based on the idea of peanuts, not the cartoon characters, but the thing that you eat. Overall, it's got this very ineffable, sort of childlike quality about the music. It is very sweet, it's very much from the heart, it's very genuine. Pretty much like the cover art here. It jumps around a lot in terms of style and lyrical content. So, you know, for someone just getting into this band, it might be a little jarring as they jump around a lot. It doesn't really stick to one style or one type of music, but I think it's very rewarding in terms of what it delivers. There's a lot of love that went into this album, as well as the cover art, and it also comes with this really cute comic book that sort of details you know, the struggles that an independent band has to go through. So this is limited to 100 copies. It is hand numbered. It comes on yellow vinyl. They are a band out of Sydney, Australia. I highly recommend you check them out.
I ate all your peanut butter. You know what it does to me.
This is one of the best second wave ska albums ever. This is I Just Can't Stop by the English Beat. Overall, this is a fantastic debut album. There is not a song you're going to want to skip on here. Some of the highlights include Mirror in the Bathroom, Tears of a Clown, Rough Rider, but honestly, this whole album is incredible. This happens to be the 2024 reissue. It was cut by Bernie Grundman, and I believe this is the same pressing that was put out during Record Store Day 2023, but this is just the single LP edition, and it comes on magenta colored vinyl. What I really like are the record labels, which refer back to the original UK label. However, you can listen to this album. Don't sleep on it. It is a party all the way through, and it will get you dancing. So this is the fourth studio album by Ornette Coleman, and this is an amazing record. It was recorded in 1959, but it sounds so modern, so forward-thinking that I can only imagine what an impact it had on the jazz world back when it was released in 1960. What's really interesting about it is that Ornette is playing this white plastic saxophone and Donald Cherry is playing this pocket trumpet, which I think even at that time was considered a novelty instrument. On the inside, we have some information about the recording of this album, and what's really interesting to learn that these guys would practice at night at Ornette's apartment and then just knock it out in the studio. He didn't even count out the song. He just raised up his horn and they immediately all hit at the same time. Now, that being said, I don't know if this record is for everybody. It's a little hard to get into at first because of its free jazz nature, but I think if you give it a chance and you're open-minded about it, it rewards you because there's an energy that is captured on this that is just so hard to reproduce any other way. It is pure improvisation. Now, this is a beautiful all-analog pressing put out by Rhino High Fidelity, and it is pressed at Optimal Media. So if you're looking for a copy, definitely check this one out. I think it is fantastic. This is Marquee Moon, the debut album by Television. If you don't know it already, you need this album in your life. This originally came out in 1977, and it's hard to imagine a world without it. It is so influential. Even if you haven't heard this record, I'm sure some of your favorite artists were inspired by it. This record's been reissued a lot over the years. It is very collectible, and everyone has an opinion on which is the best pressing to get. But I think what Kevin Gray and Rhino High Fidelity did with this remaster, it really highlights the more creative elements elements of this album. It sounds beautiful and it has this very smooth quality about it. Now, truth be told, this is my first pressing of the album on vinyl, so I don't have anything else to compare it to, but if you go to Discogs, you can read other people's reviews on it who own multiple pressings of this album, and this version is very highly praised. And considering how much original pressings go for, this version is a fantastic value for the money, and it is superbly pressed at Optimal Media, and it comes with this very nice tip-on sleeve gatefold jacket with an insert featuring commentary from the band members. So if you're in the market for a copy, definitely don't pass this up, but whatever pressing you end up getting, you really can't go wrong with this album. It is just a classic with so many great songs on here. This is Terrapin Station, the 9th studio album by the Grateful Dead, originally released in 1977. This is the 2024 reissue put up by Rhino Records. And in the pantheon of Grateful Dead music, I think this is one of the most well-known and popular albums. But for me, where this record really shines is on side 2. Terrapin Station, the title track, takes up the whole side, and for me, this is what the Grateful Dead is known for. This has a transportive, meditative, very relaxing vibe about it. It's just otherworldly, and it's really wonderful to listen to. It's like ear candy for me, and it's one of those things that's, you know, it's really hard to put into words. It's not really like rock music. It's not like jazz. I guess the closest thing I could call it is progressive rock, but even that sort of pigeonholes it into something that I just don't think it really, you know, it really doesn't do it justice. It's just one of those things that needs to be heard. So I highly encourage you to check this album out however you can. I have another Grateful Dead album. This is the 12th studio album by the Grateful Dead. It was originally released in 1987, and this was an unintended success. I think it ended up being their most popular album, at least the one that sold the most. And they even had a music video for it, for the song Touch of Grey, which I remember seeing as a kid. It had this amazing crossover appeal for this band that at this point had been going for like 20 years, and I think that's pretty incredible. If you're looking to get into the Grateful Dead, this is a great place to start because I think you really get a good vibe for what the band is. And what's really cool about this record is that they pretty much recorded it live to tape with very few overdubs. Like they literally recorded their live show, even with the lights and everything, to an empty audience. And I think why they did that is that their fans will often tell you that they were a better live band than they were in the studio. And this record sort of bridges that gap because it took like the best of both worlds. Now, this is a 2024 reissue put up by Rhino Records, and it's on this really nice silver colored vinyl, but this is an album that's pretty easy to find. Even original copies don't go for that much, so however you choose to get into this album, I highly recommend you listen to it, enjoy it. This really has a great vibe about it.
It must be getting early. Clocks are running late.
So next up, I have Comfort by Leon Diaz, and if you enjoy deeply moving meditative music, you need to listen to this album. Leon is a viewer of the channel of mine, and he reached out to me and sent me his latest album. This is just a gorgeous suite of music, and I am so grateful to have heard this album, especially because it's exclusive to vinyl. You can't hear it anywhere else, and it's limited to 500 copies. This is from 2023, and there is so much love that has gone into this album, not just in the music, but the attention to detail is top notch. The packaging, the booklet, the photography. I mean, even the cover has this very subtle spot varnishing, highlighting the hand stitching going on here. The music itself is reminiscent of modern contemporary classical music with progressive rock elements that harken back to the peak of the genre in the 1970s. Emotionally, I get feelings of nostalgia, heartache, regret, but there's also this through line of hope. There's a feeling of coldness on the outside, but I think at the heart of this album is a warm hearth. An ember that is still going. You can ignite it again and start a fire. I find this music incredibly special, powerful, and moving, and I am so very impressed with Leon's work, and I hope you get the chance to check out his music.
Wake up, my mother, for me.
If you're wondering what the current Liverpool scene is like, then wonder no more with Circa Waves' 5th album, Never Going Under, from 2023. I really, really, really like this album. It's got a fun dance punk pop vibe. There's fantastic guitar tones, but where this record really shines is the driving bass and drums. It just gets my toes tapping. These guys can write songs. I mean, right from the first time I heard this album, they got stuck in my head. So if you're looking for something fun to listen to on a road trip, or as you're getting ready to go out for the evening, throw this record on and have a great time because it is full of so much great energy. This is the debut album by Brittany Davis, and it is a phenomenal personal work that not only defies genre, but also challenges the notion of what an album can be. In my opinion, Brittany gracefully blends spoken word poetry with soul, funk, R&B, hip-hop, electro, and blues to create a deeply personal record that shines a window into their everyday experience. Now, I had the great pleasure of speaking to Brittany recently and also got to see them perform live, and they are just a phenomenal musician with a powerful voice. Now, this vinyl edition comes as a double LP and a gatefold sleeve. One of the records is this really beautiful pink color and the other one is black. So if you're looking for something new to check out, something that will shake you out of your routine, maybe challenge you a little bit, definitely check out Image Issues by Brittany Davis. It is out now on Loose Groove Records.
Yeah, I came from them Kansas City streets. I was born and raised on that Kansas City beat.
This is one of the most perplexing albums I've heard in 2024. This is Bex Burch with There Is Only Love and Fear, and there is so much going on in this record. It is very interesting to listen to. I honestly don't know how to describe it. It is largely instrumental music, but there's something so organic about it. The sound of it, it's not like it's coming from nature, but it sort of is of nature. It's sort of what I think of in terms of electronic music, but at the same time, I feel like there's a narrative being told in the way the songs are sequenced on this album. It's not so much like a story as much as it's like this movement of emotions and feelings, tempo changes. This record really takes you on a journey, and it's one of those records that really rewards you with repeated listens because it allows you to drift off to the different frequencies and not just focus on the higher frequencies, which I often do. So sometimes I'll listen to the rhythm sections or the more bassier notes. And the album overall is very expressive. Like if I just close my eyes, the music creates a lot of really colorful images, feelings of a warm breeze, like the idea of sunlight dancing through leaves. I don't know, I'm getting out there, but it's pretty magical. I highly recommend checking this album out. All right, everybody, that will do it for today. Let me know which of these were your favorites. Which ones are you going to try to pick up? Which ones were new to you? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Until then, thank you all so much for watching, but I especially want to thank my members over on Patreon. I'm your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side.